episode number 47. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for a say, Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. How are you doing? I hope well. I am doing well. I'm still riding the waves of our anniversary celebration. So if you didn't tune into last week's episode where I interviewed my husband, we were celebrating our 8-year wedding anniversary. And so we spent the weekend at a spa hotel while the children stayed with my parents, and that was lovely. So if you haven't listened to that episode, do head back and listen. And for those of you that did, I just want to say thank you. We got so much amazing feedback from everybody who enjoyed hearing our story and our journey. And so thank you for tuning in. Now, today I am diving into a different topic and I guess showing you a bit more behind the scenes of my life. And I am going to be talking to you about change. And I'm going to be talking to you about the trip that changed everything for me in terms of my career direction. And the reason why I want to share this with you is because I have been having quite a few conversations recently with women who are contemplating change. So I talk a lot to women who are on maternity leave, who are thinking about what they want to do with their careers post baby, whether they want to go back to the career they were in before or whether they want to do something completely different. I often speak to women who are in a time of transition and trying to figure out what the next step is. And in speaking to those people, I realized that there's common questions that come up and common challenges that come up around making a career change. And so I thought it would be good to share a bit about what caused me to change direction in my career and to go on a different path than I thought I would when I first started out on my legal career journey. So I'm going to share with you a bit about a trip that I went on a good few years ago and how that has impacted me and changed the way I view life and career and everything. So it would probably be best for me to go back to the beginning of my legal career and then talk you through the point at which I went on my trip and then what changed for me and what things look like for me now. So I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer very early on. So I think I must have been about 8 years old. I was quite opinionated and argumentative as a child, so my mum made the suggestion that I should be a lawyer. And growing up, I used to watch programs like Law and Order and Ally McBeal and really liked the look of being a lawyer and decided that that was what I was going to do and that was the path that I was going to take. And so I took all of the steps that I needed to take to become a lawyer. So I went to university, I went on an internship abroad, came back, and then I went to law school and then got a training contract with a national firm in the UK and started my training contract. And a year into my training contract, I had the opportunity to go on a mission trip. So I had always wanted to go on a mission trip, and this opportunity came up, which I felt was perfect because it was a legal mission trip. So not only was I going to be able to go and help people in Africa, but I was going to be able to use my legal skills. So being able to combine the two for me was perfect. So I saw this come up with an organisation called the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, and I applied and then had the opportunity to go. Now, I had previously spent a year in New York where I had completed an internship. So that was the first time that I was away from family and had experienced a whole new culture and had to adapt and learn and grow in a different environment. But going on this mission trip was taking things to a whole new level because we were going to East Africa and we were going to provide legal support to people in that region. And now I didn't know what to expect. I think that my preconceived ideas of Africa were very much coloured and blurred by what I'd seen on TV and in the media. And so going there, it was a real eye-opener because everything didn't look how I expected it to look. But what we did experience was that there was a huge lack of access to justice, and as a result, people were going through and experiencing things which I just think they shouldn't have to. So, for example, we went to prisons and had the opportunity to provide legal training to prisoners who were often just thrown in jail because a police officer had picked them up off the street and said they needed to pay money, and if they didn't have the money to pay, then the police officer would just put them in jail without letting them know what the charge was against them. And because they don't have access to a lawyer or can't afford a lawyer or someone to represent them, there would be men who would be in jail for 2, 3, 4, 5+ years, just there in jail because they didn't know what their rights were, and because they didn't know what their rights were, they weren't able to exercise those rights. And so the organisation that we went with was the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, and they partnered with a local organisation, and they have a worldwide initiative called Clear, where they are taking people that go on mission trips, and they have a few people that work for them within the different locations to actually go in and educate prisoners and educate people generally of their rights. So we had an amazing opportunity to go in and help with that, and just to be part of something where you can see the hope on people's faces, and you can see the difference that you're making just by explaining what the law is, so that they know what their rights are, so that they can take it a step further and then exercise those rights, was absolutely priceless. So that was an amazing experience for us. And then we also had the chance to go into villages and educate families about child protection rights and about education. We had the chance to look at some new laws that were coming in, look at some constitutional documents. We had the chance to just get on the ground and know that the help that we were offering was making a direct impact to the lives of people. And so it was just an amazing experience. And it was such a privilege to experience it with a team of unique people from different backgrounds. So there were lawyers from the UK and then also from Australia. And so it was just great to connect with different people, learn about their practices back home, about the things that they do, the initiatives that they've been involved in. So yeah, I just really enjoyed just learning from them, learning from the experience. One of the most, I guess, impactful parts of the trip was when we went to the genocide memorial in Rwanda and learnt more about what happened, and heard about how many people lost their lives and just the whole process. And it really stuck with me. It really impacted me, and I guess just changed the way that I thought. I think the whole trip just changed the way that I thought about a lot of things. And so, yeah, by the end of the 2 weeks, my brain was full. I'd seen so much. The emotions were high. There were highs and there were lows. And to round off the trip, we had the chance to go on safari at one of the national parks in Kenya. And that was just a different experience. Again, I got the chance to be in the natural habitat of so many animals and be so close to lions and zebras and flamingos and hippos. It was just so surreal. And I really like the fact that we were in their habitat. I've been to the zoo before and felt uncomfortable about the fact that the animals are all tied up and we're just observing them. But when you're on safari, you feel like you are in their world, you're in their house, you're in their area, and you're the ones that have to be careful because you're in the open elements and exposed to so many different animals. But again, that was just a great experience. I think the whole trip overall was life-changing. It just changed my perspective completely. And so at the end of it, we said our goodbyes, and then I came back to the UK, and at the time I was sitting in litigation, so I was doing a litigation seat. And I remember in the first few weeks back, I found it really difficult to get back into work. I was working on some debt collection cases and looking at sending letters about unpaid gas invoices, and honestly, I just thought, what am I doing? Like a few weeks ago, I was on the ground helping people, making an impact, and now I'm chasing people for unpaid invoices. The contrast was just so stark for me, and at that point, I realized that as much as I want to be a lawyer, I feel like I need to be doing something that's going to impact the lives of people. And so that really started my journey to search for what is it that I'm going to do that is going to be able to impact the lives of people on a personal level. And I came across across coaching, and I came across a taster day with the coaching academy, so I went along to that to find out more. And that's when I realized that I'm a coach. I've been coaching my whole life. I've always been that person who looks for the opportunities in situations, who is rooting for people to achieve their potential, is always looking for the opportunity to do better and to inspire others to do better. So once I learned that there was a whole industry around coaching, that's when I decided that I wanted to jump in and learn more. So alongside my legal career, I carried on in my training contract, and then qualified as a corporate lawyer, and was learning all that you learn while you're training and a junior lawyer. But alongside that, I decided to do some coach training so I could learn more about coaching and the skills and the techniques that I would need to be able to help people. And that's really where it started. I started seeing a few clients on the side here and there, not many, but a few here and there. But it wasn't until I was on maternity leave with my son, when he was about 6 months old, that I decided that I was going to focus on building out my coaching practice. And because I'd had that experience of transitioning into motherhood, I decided that I wanted to focus on helping other mums, other professional women who wanted to continue their careers whilst raising a family. I knew the struggle that I had gone through, trying to figure out how am I going to continue my legal career that I worked so hard to build now that I'm a mum. And so I knew that there would be others who would be experiencing similar things, and so I wanted to apply my coaching skills and experience to help those kinds of women. And for me, I decided that I didn't want to go back to working as a corporate lawyer, because the hours were long. I was doing all-nighters, working till 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes, early hours and long days, and I decided that I didn't want that while my son was young. And so I made a change. I transitioned from working as a corporate lawyer to working as in-house legal counsel for a company, and that suited my desired lifestyle better in terms of my time. And so now I have a portfolio career where I work part-time as a lawyer, and then I also spend time with my children during the week, and then I have my coaching practice as well. So when I started out on my legal career, I wouldn't have envisaged that this would be what my career would look like. I was very much focused on making it to the top of my game, which at that time I perceived to be me making partner within private practice, and I was working towards that. But my trip to Africa was the first thing that made me rethink the direction of my career, and then the second thing was becoming a mum. And so those two things were the major factors that kind of took my career in a slightly different path than I had initially expected. And so yeah, that's where I am now. I don't know where I'm going to be in the next few years, but this is where I am now, and I know what plans I have. But things don't always go to plan, and life changes. And one of the things I just want to share and encourage you with is that it's okay. It's okay for there to be a change. It's okay that your values have shifted. Once you go through a life-changing experience, or you become a mum, or there's many different experiences that might occur that could lead to you having a change of perspective and a change of values, and that can then result in you not necessarily wanting to stay on the same path that you started on. And I just want to give you permission to run with considering alternative options. Sometimes we have invested so much time, money and energy in getting to a certain place that the thought of changing direction is one that you put to the side because you feel guilty about changing that direction. I remember when I was thinking about maybe leaving private practice, one of the thoughts that kept coming to me was there's so many people that would love to have the opportunity to work in private practice, and I have that opportunity and I'm looking to give it up. That was one of the thoughts that I had. There were many other thoughts that I had at the time, and you may be experiencing that yourself in terms of thinking, well, how could I walk away from this, or how could I think about doing something different? But if you want to do something different, it's fine. It doesn't make sense to stay in an area that you're not liking or you don't feel fully aligned with because of the time you previously invested. So you could say, well, I've been in this industry for 10 years or in this role for 10 years, how could I then leave it? But you have to say, well, just because you've been in it for 10 years, are you going to spend another 10 or 20 years in it just because? Or are you going to look to find the thing that you want to do, and are you going to look to spend your time doing something that lights you up, that makes an impact, that is important to you and to others. So if you're looking to make a change, I want to encourage you to go ahead and explore your options. With that in mind, I have created a resource around career change, because I recognise from the conversations that I've been having with people that one of the sticking points is figuring out what you would do as an alternative. So if you decide, okay, I want to walk away from my current career and I want to do something different, where people often get stuck is saying, well, if I didn't do this, what else would I do? I've done this for so long, so what else is out there? How would I find out what's out there? And so I've put together a resource which lists out 17 totally different career options that didn't exist before. So some different options that you may not have heard of or considered. Some of them relate directly to the digital world that we live in now. And I've also put in there the kinds of backgrounds that relate to each of those roles, so that you can see how your experience may well translate into some of these options. And so this is a free resource for you. So it's available if you head over to www.lightboxcoaching.com/career-options. Then you can download a copy of the guide, and I will put a link to it also in the show notes for today's episode, which will be at lightboxcoaching.com/episode-47. So I hope that you can go and grab that resource. And if you know of anybody who is in this period of indecision, or in this period of wanting to make a decision and transition into a different area in terms of their career, or take it on a slightly different path, then tell them about the resource. Forward this episode, share this episode with them, so that they can hear about someone else's journey, and then perhaps download the guide if they think it's going to be useful for them. The topic of change comes up so much and is so important that over the next few weeks I'm going to be talking about making a change in your career so that you can be finding fulfilling work while you're raising your family. So the next few episodes we're going to be touching on different elements to think about and different things that you can implement that can help you towards making a shift and a change. So be tuning in for those episodes. And if you are liking what you hear on the podcast, then I would urge you to go ahead and leave a rating and review. If you go to iTunes or your podcast app, you can go and leave a review of the show, and this helps more people find the show and join into the conversations that we have here. So I'd really appreciate it if you would just take a few moments to go and leave a rating and review now. I always love hearing from our listeners. It was so nice to hear from so many people after last week's episode. So please come and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you and hear about your journey and where you're at in your career right now. Okay, so that's all from me in today's episode. I will be back again next week, and in the meantime I just want to encourage you to go download the guide, and for you to look after yourself, look after you, and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Awesound.